Welcome into the Hyundai Studios here on STOHD.com for STO Fantasy Playbook. I'm Will Ewick, joined alongside special guest this week, Al Pawlowski filling in for Ryan Cavanaugh. Let's get right into it with our stardom situms. Reminder, we're looking for guys that you should, big name guys that you should sit, and also those fringe and bench players you can plug in and play this week. A good plug-in for you this week, Carson Palmer.
Yeah, well, I think Carson Palmer would be a nice play, especially with all the quarterbacks that are sitting out this week because of the bye. Peyton Manning's out, Phillip Rivers out, Matt Ryan out, to name a few. So you may be looking for a quarterback. Carson Palmer threw for over 300 yards last week. He's got the Jacksonville defense this week. I think all season long he's been a little bit underrated. I think he's a good start. Also, Felix Jones. Now, this one a little bit more obvious. Of course, he did well against Baltimore, filling in for DeMarco Murray this past Sunday. Murray is out for the Cowboys this week. That means Jones is going to get the start as long as he can stay healthy for an entire game. I think he's got a shot at rushing for 100 yards. I think he has a shot at finding the end zone. I think both of these guys are good plays this week.
A couple of starts for me this week, a couple of wide receivers. I'm going to build off your Carson Palmer pick there with Denarius Moore, Oakland's #1 wide receiver. He's averaging over 4 catches per game. Darius Hayward-Bay comes back last week. But Moore still leads the team in receptions, leads the team in targets, and tops 100 yards. Now he gets a favorable matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another one, Jeremy Curley. After the injury to Holmes, Curley has established himself as the #1 wide receiver for the Jets. He has 8 receptions for 118 yards in the last 2 games. They're playing New England this week. So they're going to be playing from behind. They're going to play catch-up. So a ton of targets probably coming his way. The question is he going to grab them? Kind of a high-risk, high-reward play. And be a good play this week. Now we move on to our sits. And somebody that people have been relying upon heavily, a rookie running back, Doug Martin. You think he should maybe be on the pine this week?
Yeah, I know. I'm going on a little bit on a limb here. And I like Doug Martin overall, too. But the problem is Doug Martin just has not scored a lot of points for you if you're playing fantasy. Now he's got a good run defense to go against in the Saints as well. So he should perform, right? Right. But he hasn't so far this year. Here's the other thing. Is Blunt going to start siphoning off carries from Doug Martin? That's something you have to watch for. So if you have a better option this week, I think I might sit Doug Martin. Now, again, I'm going a little bit out on a limb here, but we'll see what happens. Now, here's the other one to me, Larod Stevens-Howling. I liked him as a start going into this past weekend because he was coming off injured reserve. He was going to finally get to play, but he carried the ball 11 times. He's going to lose his starting spot, and he's going to lose it to William Powell. You're going to talk more about him, Will, coming up in just a bit. So I don't think Stevens-Howling is going to be a guy that's going to get you a lot of points this week. I think you definitely need to put him on the bench.
I got a couple of running backs on my bench as well. One of them, Mikel Shore, running back for the Detroit Lions. The whole Lions offense is kind of struggling right now because of Matthew Stafford. And the last time Mikel Shore played a top-tier rush defense was the Minnesota Vikings, and he only got 26 yards on 13 carries. And Minnesota is the 11th best rush defense. Now he gets Chicago. They're #1. I don't think there's going to be any greener pastures for him this week. Frank Gore, another one for me, a season-low 36 yards last week against the Giants. Now, I know they were playing catch-up, but they're playing catch-up because Smith struggled. And I don't think he's going to find much more help this week going against the Seattle Seahawks, the second-best rush defense. And I also see a little bit of a timeshare developing there in San Francisco, so you got to be cautious of that for Frank Gore. So if you have other options, maybe a time to sit him and put them in. We move on to our injury impact, and we're not leaving Cleveland for it. Trent Richardson gets hurt last week with a rib injury. You have Obaniah. You have Hardesty. How's this backfield going to play out, Al?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. If you don't have Trent Richardson on your team, then don't play any running back for Cleveland. And here's why. #1, Richardson still should play this week, so that means limited, if any, action at all from Ontario Hardesty. Obaniah is a nice third down back, but again, limited touches there. If for some reason Richardson doesn't go or he goes out early, well, then who does Pat Shurmur go with? Is it Montario Hardesty, who looked pretty good this past Sunday, but now other teams have some tape on him? We'll see if he would do that well this week. Or is it Obaniah, who filled in last year as a primary back, and he's done well this year as a third down back? So bottom line is you don't know. So if it's not Richardson to start this week, I wouldn't start anybody else for the Browns.
I think the Brown fans are all hoping that it is Richardson and he can play.
Of course.
We move on to our fantasy marketplace. Guys, you can buy low, sell high, upward, downward trending. Reggie Wayne, a guy that a lot of people forgot about on draft day. He's been having a monster year.
Yeah, I love this guy. He went low in most of the drafts, but Reggie Wayne is having an outstanding year. As you said, Will, he's become Andrew Luck's favorite target by far, as he was Peyton Manning's favorite target before he left. In the ESPN League 2 weeks ago, he scored 35 points. Deshaun Jackson, mainly because the quarterback situation is so unsettled right now in Philadelphia. Vic's not having a good year. There's talk that he might not be starting very much longer. You could almost throw Jeremy Maclin or any Philadelphia target into this bunt. I don't really like starting any receivers right now for the Eagles.
My stock going up, you mentioned it earlier, William Powell, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Larod Stevens-Howling, everyone thought he might be the heir apparent, but both these guys go against the Buffalo Bills, and Powell comes out with a 3-yard more average per rush. I think he's going to get more carries. You also have the injury to Kevin Cobb, so now Skelton steps in. Going to be a lot of work to go around, including goal line work. I like Powell going forward. My stock going down, though, I think Brandon Pettigrew. Struggling Matthew Stafford, a struggling offense as a whole. You have Scheffler cutting into his targets a little bit. I really think the tight end is a deep position this year. So I think there's other options out there you can plug in and play over Brandon Pettigrew until he proves it that he's the guy that you drafted. That's all the time we have for STO Fantasy Playbook. Thanks for joining us. For Al Pawlowski, I'm Will Uick, reminding you it's your fantasy. We just happen to be in it.
They're all good ones, too.